we spoke about how to create your own, auto scaling group, and that provided you capability of ensuring that in case if servers are not up or something happens wrong internally to one of the servers, how new instances will get added to your auto scaling group, right? Now today what we will do, we'll have practical understanding of how actually we can build different type of instances. Like we have tried out with creating an instance which is of Ubuntu, right? We will try out with also today now a Windows instance, and then we will try to understand how storage will come into picture and what all different type of storages are there in Amazon, right? So let's start with building instances first today. So I'll just go here. Amazon Web Service or AWS comes with a number of components, and typically those components are divided into a number of services, and they are made available to us in form of web service access. So if you see, these are the services. You have compute. Now when we talk about compute, these are the four, these are the compute elements. You have EC2, you have Elastic Beanstalk, you have Lambda, you have EC2 container. Storage, S3, CloudFront. Now, if you want to work as a cloud architect, you have to go and decide what type of storage is the right storage, right? Typically, in your architecture, you will find that S3 is also there, and you are using even AWS storage, or you are using Glacier also for archives. Then you have databases. There is no architecture where actually database is not there. Think of any, think of any domain, whether it is supply chain, right, or whether it is, retail. You'll find a use of databases, right? So Amazon provides you various type of databases. If you see RDS, Elasticsearch, Redshift, Dynamo, right? And Redshift is something which is very comprehensive, right? It provides you a fast, fully managed petabyte scale data warehouse. So Redshift is typically a data warehouse where you can manage data up to petabyte of scale, right? Then you have Elastic Cache. This is for caching. We all know that caching provides throughput, right? Because instead of hitting every time the database, why can't you have a in-memory cache, so that once you hit for first time, data comes and gets stored in the cache, and from next time onwards it is the cache from where you will get the data, right? So retrieval is fast, right? Now caches of various type. This is an in-memory cache. Then you have RDS that provides you RDBMS, relational database capability. That means you can go and you can configure database which is from Oracle or which is from MySQL. So you can make database also part of it. Now you have DynamoDB. Now believe me, DynamoDB is a NoSQL. Like you might have heard about Cassandra, MongoDB. Now Amazon came up with DynamoDB, right? And believe me, Cassandra is actually based on DynamoDB, right? Can we use existing databases while app on the cloud? Yes, you can. That's where actually you will go with, hybrid cloud, where you will be using your components which are there in your private cloud. Okay, so you'll have your database which will be there in private cloud, and you can go and you can integrate private cloud with public cloud. Is that clear, Ayush? Whenever you are asking question, please select everyone so that all of them are in sync, right? So these three are there: compute, storage, and database, right? As an architect, you need to know what are your compute needs, what are your storage needs, what is the type of storage which is good, and what are databases, or probably if you are planning to use NoSQL, how actually you will be using it, right? And then we'll move and we'll talk about rest of them also. So let's start with our first practical today, which I feel that you might be following. Yesterday also we did, and now today also we are doing. So what we are going to do today is, objective is to create a window instance, right? And then we will talk about storage, typically RDS and elastic file system, storage glacier, right? And, and then you'll have CloudFront. So we'll talk about all this. Let's go and start with creating a instance. Now in our previous sessions, we have already created instance of Linux. Now we are going to create instance of Windows, right? So if you see, steps are very simple. What you have to do is you have to just go and click on launch instance. This is what is step 1, right? I'll just go and click on launch instance. Now here you get options, and that option is Amazon machine image, right? Now these are created by Amazon. Like Amazon has its own Linux, its own flavor, right? So if you need that, you can go, but our objective is to go with Windows, right? So you can do quick search. I can go to AWS Marketplace and I can write here Windows, and you'll find here Microsoft Windows Server 2012 R2 core. You can decide which one you want, right? Now for example, here I have shortcut. I can take up Windows 2008 if I want, right? But please see here that what will be the charge that you need to pay, right? You need to pay from this to this per hour, including EC2 charge and other AWS usage fees, right? But you are getting a box with Windows. Here you are not being charged for license, you are being charged for usage, right? You see, Amazon EC2 running Microsoft Windows Server is a fast and dependable environment for deploying applications using Microsoft web platforms, right? Amazon EC2 enables you to run them. So what we'll do, we'll just go and try it out. We'll create one and then we'll see, right? Is that clear? So assume that you are getting a task of creating 4 Windows, operating system boxes, and then you want database to be there on one, right? Your application server to be on one. You want to set up architecture in the logical layer, ensuring that you are not maintaining the hardware, you are not taking responsibility of powering those hardware. All that is being taken care by your Amazon. So you just go and select here, and as discussed earlier, you have to go and you have to select what should be the configuration of the box that you are going to use, right? So micro instance, this is free tier, this is what is the memory, EBS, and network performance is very low, right? So you have to do capacity planning depending on what will be the component which you will install on this particular Windows box, and that component will have access from where, how many clients will try to access resources which you are going to keep on this particular instance. So do your capacity planning as an architect, right? And then decide which one is going to be good for you, right? So for example, at least I'll go for medium, right, with 4 GB. Now next, configure instance detail. Now here you will be deciding, okay, how many instances you want. So assume that I said I want 2 instances, right? Domain join directory, IAM role. We have not yet worked with IAM role. Neither I want you to think of that. We'll come when we'll talk about security there. Shutdown behavior. If you see, when you shut down, it should terminate or it should stop. Monitoring. If you enable CloudWatch, right, it will monitor what is going on in your instances. I'm not working with this as of now, so I'm not selecting this. Tenancy, which is very important, whether you want dedicated hardware or you want to be there in shared virtual hardware. So it depends what actually you want. So I'll go for multi-tenancy. When you go with dedicated, again you are charged. And then see some of the advanced features also that you can configure. You have here user data, right? As file input is already 60 base 64 encoded, right? So you need not actually specify this as of now, right? Objective of user data is you can specify user data to configure an instance or run a configuration script during launch, right? So if you launch more than one instance at the time, user data is available to all the instances in that reservation. Okay, so you forget about this as of now. Our case does not needs it, right? So we are creating two instances. I'll just go here and click on add storage, right? 30 GB is what is standard that I am taking, but you have to go and do capacity planning for storage as well, right? Why 30 GB? Because anything above 30 GB will cost me, so I'm not taking here anything above 30 GB, right? You can add more volume, you can add type of storage that you want. If you see EBS device that you want, right? So I don't want to add any volume here as of now. I'm fine with 30 GB SSD storage. I'll go and click on next stack. Give a name to it. Now, for example, I am giving here my Windows boxes, right? Click on next, configure security group, which we have seen yesterday. Security group, as we all know now, that we use in order to, connect to various services which are running on that particular box. It is something similar to, IP tables, right? Where you go and enable that, okay, this is what is the port which is open and it can be accessed from anywhere. So in case of Windows, if you see RDP and SSH, so there are two ways of connecting to Windows boxes which are created in your Amazon. One is through RDP. We all know what RDP is, right? And second one by using SSH, right? So those two ports are open. If you want to open more ports, you can go and you can add rule. Like I'll select all traffic. So now my box is open for everything from all ports, right? If you want RDP to be done from a particular IP, you can go and you can specify my IP. If you want to specify some custom IP, you can go and specify that as well, right? As of now, we'll go from anywhere, right? Please remember the security group name, right? So whenever name is auto generated, if you see, it is the operating system and the date, right, when actually it was created, followed by autogen by AWSMP. So this is what is the format. So what you can do, you can define your own names if you want. Now, for example, for me, this name is enough, right? Any confusion, Nakul? Matthew, are you there? Ayush, Mike, and Gargi. Any confusion? You need to be there with me. Just prompt it on the chat box so that I can see. Nakul, are you there? Am I audible? Matthew, just type on the chat box if everything is fine with you. What we are doing as of now, we are creating security group. Okay, fine. Now this can be decided by you. Now, for example, assume that I want to install Cloudera, right, on this Windows machine. Now, when I install Cloudera, Cloudera will, start various services, and I want those services to be accessible from outside. If I want to do that, I'll go and I'll open those ports, right? So either go and add one port or you just specify all. This is not good practice actually when you specify all, because you're opening, your machine for at every port, right? Better is to maintain your table. It may take some time, but better is to go with opening only specific ports, right? So I'll just go and click on review and launch. You all know that we are coming to last step now, and here goes, Now it is asking, do you want to use an existing pair or you want to create a new pair? I'll go and I'll say create a new pair, and I'll write Windows box key, and I'll download this. This is what is the key that we got, right? Similar to a Linux box that we created yesterday. And as I told you, you always need to go and rename it. Okay, for security reasons, it has added .txt. Right now, it is .temp. Once you have this file, anyone can access it. Right. So today, what I'll do, I will send this file to Nakul, and we will see how we can access right from Windows. Okay, Nakul, are you there? You are working on Windows box, right? Good. So I'll be mailing this key to you, and now we will try to connect to this instance from your machine. Okay, where I will tell you how actually you can generate PPK and connect. Now your instances are now launched. Go and view instances and wait for your instances to come to running state. Here as of now it is pending. Let it come to running state. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can ask me, because today I am going to give you assignment that you have to do. Okay, now you see your instances are running. Okay, now let me go and try connecting or see the details. If you see my Windows boxes, and here are the details. Let me show you the details which will help you to connect. Right, you have public IP, you have private IP. As already told to you in previous session, private IP will be used for internal networking purpose. You have here this private IP. So what all I need to make note of? I need to make note of public IP, right? I need to make note of private IP, and I need to be very clear with the security group that we are using. And then here you see, this is what is key, right? So you need to know this at least. And check out for all instances whatever you have created and make note of these details which are required. Now, how to connect to it and launch it? So if you see you have connects here, I'll just go and click on connect, and it tells me download remote desktop file. And what is the IP? Are you able to see the details? I'll capture these details. I've captured these details, right? So when prompted, connect to your instance using following details. This is what is the public IP, this is what is the username, and this is what is the part where you can get the password. Matthew, is it clear? I'll just go and click on get password. Key name is this. In order to retrieve your password, you need to specify the path of this key, right? So I'll just go and choose the file which we have downloaded. This is what is the key. See the steps how actually you are. And now I'll go and click on decrypt password. You take this password now. I'll capture it. This is what is the password which is generated for you to do RDP. Is that clear? Any confusion? Matthew, Ayush, how actually you will distribute RDPs? Now let's go and click on download RDP. And once you do this, you will have an RDP file downloaded. This is what is the RDP file, right? If you are on Windows, you can open it. Mac also comes with a small utility which can be used, right? So if you see here, automatically that RDP file, when I clicked, it gave me 52.27.207.220, and that's what is the IP of your box. User ID is administrator, and you can go and you can specify password, right? We have not created or specified any domains. I'll just go and click on OK. If everything is fine, I have to just go and give the password. Type 9 star R equal to P minus R star A Z. I'll go and I'll click on connect. Right, now this mine is not working, otherwise it will go and it will connect. So what I'll do, I'll just go and I'll give it to, I'll send you the details. And Nakul, Ayush, are your Windows? Can you just try connecting using this RDP, right? But once you have RDP, you can go and you can actually connect to your Windows box. Okay, so I'm on Mac, so there is some issue with my RDP. You can try connecting it from there. Password. Let me try once again. And if you see, it launched. Matthew, are you able to see? Our Windows box is launched. Ayush, Nakul, is this clear? So now you have created a Windows box, and now I have connected to that Windows box from Mac. Okay, same thing you can also do from Windows. Now you have this. This is what is host name, this is what is instance ID, public IP address, private IP address, availability zone, instance size. That gives you all the details. Go and maximize, and I'll go full screen, and I'll get here now start. And from here onwards, you'll feel as if you're working on Windows machine. Not required, Ayush, because your Windows comes with remote desktop tool, right? RDP. You can connect from there, right? Why to use PuTTY? You already have a tool and you are having RDP file. Now you can go and you can do whatever you want on this box. Yeah, RDP file is what is required. Is this clear? Now you can download or you can do whatever you want here. This is your box now. Okay. Fine.
So this is how you will create Windows instances. We have created 2 instances. You can connect to both at the same time, right? I'll close it, and I'll go here, and again when you click on connect, it will give you download remote desktop file. The different IP, username is administrator. You can go and you can get the password. And for password, what you have to do? You have to go and specify the key. As of now, nothing is there. I'll go and I'll select the key. This is what is our key. Choose and then decrypt password. And this time it generates a different password. Right. This is how actually you will connect to your Windows box, and this is how you will create Windows machine and Linux. Right? Any confusion? So Nakul, now if I give you a task of creating Windows box and Linux box, you'll be able to do that, right? As an administrator, if these tasks are there. If I ask you to create a security group, can you create security group? An objective of security group is what? To go and help you in securing or defining a security policy for your boxes. That's what is objective, right? Do you see? You can go and you can change. For example, we have created this Microsoft Windows Server security group. So I'll just go and I can edit it. I can give a name here if I want. I don't want to give name. Or we can go and we can change if you want something. So we have RDP, SSH, all traffic. We can go and we can edit. If I want to remove all traffic, I can. Right? I can save. So now you have only 2 ports at which it's accessible. Right? That's what is objective. Key pairs. So till now you have generated these many key pair. Windows key. What you can do, you can import key pair. Right? So this will help you to go and decide how actually you want. Right? And these are network interfaces. Right? So we'll work with this as well. But as of now, I feel this part is clear. Auto scaling group we did yesterday, that's clear. We created and then we deleted. Fine, we'll go back to EC2 dashboard now. And let me go and terminate the instances. Why terminate? Otherwise, I'll be charged. Right? I'll just go and select these 2 windows. I'll go, and action is terminate. If I will stop, still I will be charged, right, for license, for usage of that particular box. So I terminate it. The minute you terminate, it means you don't need that instance anymore. Okay?
Niranjan, just a question here. Niranjan?
Yeah,
just
Nakul.
a question here. I was a little confused about the key.
Okay.
We need every user will have to download the RDP file, or is it just for the password?
No, every user has to download the RDP, because RDP contains details. Now, for example, just now we have connected, right? You have these RDP files. Now, these RDP files will have details, right? If you open it in text file, you'll find details. It contains what is the IP, what is the type of machine, right? So RDP is important, which you can distribute to all clients along with the password. So assume that you have to create 10 instances. One instance you have to give to database administrator, right? So what you will do, you will give RDP to him. Using that, he will get the complete detail. What is the IP, right? What is the username? What is the password? Is something which you can send. Like I have taken screenshots and I have stored the password here, right? And every time you will have a different password that will get generated.
Okay.
Fine. So we'll go to EC2 dashboard now. We have already terminated. I wish I'll go to instances, and these two are in terminated state. I'll go to dashboard, and now we have services. So we have seen compute, and we have seen EC2 in compute, right? Beanstalk and EC2 container service we will discuss once we start with DevOps. Now, for example, EC2 container service, it is used to easily run and manage Docker containers, right? So what is Docker container? That you need to know. That I'll introduce you when we go with a bit of beginning of DevOps, right? Beanstalk is an application container where you can deploy and manage your applications, right? So you can say it's a different component itself. Now, for example, if I want to work with Beanstalk, what I'll do? You have developers developing applications, and they are saying that we want to actually install our applications in cloud and we want to test it, right? So you can use AWS Elastic Beanstalk for that purpose. Why? Because it helps you to deploy, monitor, and scale your applications quickly. Instead of you going and taking care of monitoring by using a third-party monitoring tool, you deploying and then managing scale. You have Amazon providing you an application server itself, which is Elastic Beanstalk. A benefit of this Elastic Beanstalk is you can go and deploy not only Java applications but also .NET applications, right? Now, how to work with it, that is what we are going to see now. So that compute part is done for us, okay? I'll just go select a platform. You see, these are pre-configured. Are you able to see Tomcat, Ruby, Python, Node.js, IaaS? So if you are deploying Windows service, you can use IaaS. If you are deploying Java services, you can use Tomcat. These are also pre-configured, right? These are generic. So I'll go with Tomcat, right? Because Tomcat is something where you can install, you deploy your Java applications. So you see, AWS Elastic Beanstalk will create an environment, running Java 8 and 7. If you see here, when we go with this, we get this particular part. You can install Java 7 or Java 8 applications, right? And click on launch now. Now, I will tell you how to do this using command lines also, but as of now, I am just telling you how actually you can go and work with it. You see, my first Beanstalk application, default environment, it is launching the environment. And you see all these features you will get: dashboard, configuration, logs, monitoring, alarms, events, tags. And your applications will get deployed where? On Tomcat. And this Tomcat will be on what platform? It will be there on Amazon Linux. So you get a pre-configured application deployment environment with benefit of monitoring, log management, alarm setting up, right? And a good dashboard to manage everything there. It takes some time because what all it is doing internally, it is creating auto scaling group. You see, it creates security group, it creates a load balancer, it creates security group, it creates now Elastic Beanstalk, right? And it provides you the storage, right? So you see, these are the benefits that you will get when you go with few AMIs which are already created, right? and all these activities are going on here internally. So I'll be on mute for a few seconds. Let this get launched so that you can see the benefit. So as a provider now, you need to be aware that what I will offer my client, right? If I have to offer services of cloud, what services are there which I can offer my client looking at their architecture. So if you find some client who is running applications and his frequent problems are scaling up, request management, throughput issues, you can go and you can actually suggest them Beanstalk, right, as a service. So let it come up. It's doing the task, creating autoscale launch, waiting for EC2 instance to launch. This may take few minutes. So I'll be on mute for those 2 minutes. You can also go and get a coffee for yourself. Okay. Fine, Nakul. Let's wait. Matthew. Okay. Are you able to hear me now? If you see now here, it's in green. Health is green, right? Running version, and it gives you a button to deploy and undeploy. You see, it has created CloudWatch also, right? Now you go and you see the configurations. This is what is the group, auto scaling group that it has created. Number of instances are 1 to 4, right? Scale based on average network out. Yesterday when we created auto scaling group, we saw that we got this facilities, and these are actions, right? Availability zone any, notifications are off as of now. Then you have software configuration. Tomcat will be there, right, which will be installed. Java will be installed. This is what is the health as of now of your application, right? Load balancing. HTTP on 80 port 80, security port off, TCP ping on 80, right? So, and you can go and you can click on monitoring now, and it provides you what is the current level of utilization. As of now, nothing is deployed, so you are seeing here blank. Right? You can go and see the alarms. As of now, there are no alarms, right? You can go and you can add it by going to monitoring dashboard. So just go to monitoring, and you can add whatever you want from here. Right? I'll go to dashboard, and here I have deploy and undeploy. Right? I'll go and I'll first check out what is there in instances. What is the state of instances now? I'll open this in a new tab. And let's see what it has done. It has created one instance. And this is what is the name of the instance. I'll go here and I'll just check it out. What is the IP? IP is this, right? And if you see, security group is AWS update stack, right, which is created automatically. And it contains what? AMI ID is Elastic Beanstalk. I can go and try connecting to this. Instance is not associated with the key value pair, so you need to login into the instance using a valid username and password. So it just provides you the facility. I'll just go here to the environment. I'll come here and I'll click on deploy and undeploy. I can click on change as well, right? And we can define the service role. So there are many things that actually you can do here. As of now, you just understand that this is how actually we will go and provide the services. See? Choose file that you want to deploy. So if you have some where, you can go and you can select those files to be deployed. As of now, I don't have any valid Java deployable code, but let me go and select something from here. For example, you say I'm selecting any file. As of now, let me select any file. It will not deploy because it's not a valid web application. Okay, just click on deploy and it is trying to deploy. So task of administrator becomes simple, right? See the events. You can change it to info so that you get each detail. See error. Why error? Because it's not a valid web application. So we need to create a web application and then probably we can go and we can work with that, right? So it was not deployed because it's not a valid web application, right? So this is how actually you will work with Beanstalk. Is this clear? This is what is sample application, which is already deployed and it gives you. This is what is where to help you in testing it. You see, it gives you this where. I'll go and I'll deploy this where now. It's already deployed. I'll select here and click on deploy. Click on deploy. This is what is the URL. And if you see now, it was deployed successfully because it was a valid where. Okay. I'll just go here and now if you see event pages, environment update is running and deploying a new version of instance. So your application is deployed now. Right? This is how actually you will work with Elastic Beanstalk and Basics. Is that clear? So what we did today? Today we understood how actually you can create Windows instance. We also understood how actually you will be connecting to Windows instance using RDP, right? How you will generate RDP file for those instances, right? And we also understood Elastic, Beanstalk. When we did it, it created auto scaling group, it created security group, it created instance, and in that instance it went and it installed your app server, which is Tomcat as of now, and it provided a very good dashboard to you from where you can monitor, manage, deploy your applications. Is that clear? Fine. So with this, we will end the session today, and tomorrow is a session where I'll be showing you an architecture, and I will ask you all to work on it and create that architecture, which will include auto scaling group, security group, Linux instances and Windows instances, and networking among those instances. Okay. Is that fine, Ayush? Gargi, Mike, Nakul, Matthew? Okay, fine. So we'll end the session here and we'll meet tomorrow with objective of doing this assignment, where I told you that I'll be using an architecture which with your help will be building up. Okay.